So government are bringing legislation to the Dáil this week. It's called the Criminal Justice Terrorist Offences Amendment Bill, and it sounds clear enough measure about tackling terrorism. But government have included what I call a Kneecap clause, and such a clause could lead to charges against political activism and legitimate freedom of expression, very similar to the manner in which Makara from Kneecap is currently facing terrorism charges in Britain. I have to say Sinn Féin will oppose any such attack on free speech. We have serious concerns about the provisions in this legislation that's included in the section called provocation of terrorism. And these provisions are far too broad and they're wide open to abuse. Public provocation charges can be brought where there's been no terrorist offence committed. The provisions are so broad that a person could be guilty of a terrorist offence in relation to provocation, even where they distribute or publish a measure that could be considered reasonably construed as inciting terrorism or that glorifies a terrorist activity. This is exactly the type of language that's used by the DUP and others to criminalise those who attend Republican commemorations. We've seen very worryingly, just last week in fact, how Lee Moog from Kneecap, who's better known as Makara, has been accused of acting in breach of a similar clause within the British Terrorism Act. Well, the bill that's coming before the Dáil contains the very similar vague language, and it's clearly open to similar abuse to crack down on political activism and freedom of expression, nothing to do with terrorism. As it stands, in fact, the bill is an attack on free speech rather than terrorism. So the legislation needs to be changed. Of course, laws have to be robust in dealing with real threats of terrorism, but they shouldn't be so broad and vague that they can be open to target political protest, political activism, or to crack down on freedom of expression in any way. Sinn Féin will not tolerate any Kneecap clause within the Irish legislation, and we're going to be bringing forward amendments at later stages to delete this provision. I'll keep you posted as to developments, but right now we need everybody to ensure that this bill as it stands is defeated.